Hello everyone. So we stopped here from the last video. So here also the problem is now since we changed this our staff service class. Okay, and here you can see. Let me save it so that okay. Staff service class, and we use this dependency injection scenario, and yeah, where we were okay. Dependency injection scenario where we create a constructor of the staff service by passing a staff repository. So since we have created a constructor here, the problem is the staff controller is going to give you an error because we don't have an empty constructor here. Our constructor always needs a staff repository to be passed inside it because we explicitly mentioned it here for our scenario in the previous video. So we have to pass a staff repository if you have to create a staff service object. The problem is you don't want to create a staff repository manually because it is an interface, and we let the Spring do the work for us. It will find an implementation of the staff repository and it should pass it by itself. So the scenario is like we start from the controller going to service and repository. So this controller is in the thread, in the first step of the thread. So the change we made in the staff service is going to affect our controller, obviously. So what we have to do is we have to use the same flow, same methodology, same dependency injection here for the staff service as well. Okay, so what I will do is I will comment this line first, and I will create the same scenario for that. So for that, what I will do is I will say private. I will declare a new staff service here first, like how I did in the staff service class. So staff service, and I will use the dependency injection. How I will do is I will create a new staff controller constructor. I'm sorry. And I will pass the staff service inside this. I will pass a new staff service inside this. Okay, so I will say staff service like how I did in the previous video. Staff service, and I will simply say this dot staff service is staff service. So that means this particular staff service is being assigned to our internal variable staff service. So why I'm doing this is if I have to manually create a new staff service object, the problem is I have to I have to use this constructor and I have to pass a staff repository. So if I want to pass a staff repository, I have to create a staff repository, but unfortunately staff repository is an interface. So I have to give an implementation within that. So to when you start to give an implementation, then you will get into more complexities. You are not going to take advantage of Spring. So since Spring will take care of this implementation and assigning, creating this repository, using this repository implementation and finding a repository object and assign it to our local repository wherever you are supposed to create any object in this same thread, in this same track, like how this staff service is connected to the controller. There also you have to use the same approach. Okay, you cannot simply create a new object, because if you have to create a new staff service object, you have to create a new staff repository that you cannot do now. So what you do is you take the same approach here as well, the dependency injection. So I forgot to annotate it with auto wired. So now I have annotated with that. So what do you do is you just declare a staff service. Even though it is a class, you declare it and you just pass it as using the dependency injection methodology. You create a new staff controller, you create a staff controller constructor and passing a staff service as a parameter, and you assign the staff service to this local variable staff service. So in this scenario, what Spring does is it first goes to the staff service class and it will find, okay, I need to create a repository. So it will find an implementation of a staff repository object, staff repository interface, and it will inbuilt implementation. It will assign it to our local staff repository using this constructor. So once it assigned, now it has a new staff service object, fresh one. So then it will go to the staff controller and pass that particular object from its storage and assign it to the local variable of the staff service. So now our staff service is created and ready to be used. So you don't need these new scenarios. So this is the benefit of using this Spring. This is called dependency injection. So we may study about these things later. For the moment, you should know how to do this. Okay, so you simply do this thing using auto wired. here, so that you can use the staff repository class. And also, since this scenario has been implemented in this thread, wherever you are going to use staff service, you have to use the same approach. So the staff service is being used in the staff controller, so again you are going to use the same dependency injection approach here as well. So it is somewhat similar to successfully creating a new staff service object, and here it is somewhat similar to successfully creating a new staff repository. So that's all it is. So once you have created those things, that means you are good to go forward. So I will just mention the keyword here for your understanding. I will mention it as dependency injection, and here also I will mention show. So now our application is good. So now what I will do is I'm going to use the staff repository methodologies for my add scenario. So when I'm trying to add a new staff record to my table, to the table. So this is add staff. I'm going to add the staff, new staff. So we will see that in the next video.